Welcome back to the Semi-Informed Football Podcast. This is Mark on with Matteo, and this has been the end of the season. This is week 38 in the EPL. It's a wrap-up in all the leagues, really. And next month is the World Cup, so that's exciting. But we've got a 3-episode drop coming up for you. Today's episode will focus on the EPL. Tomorrow's episode, we'll talk about Bayern, the Bundesliga, the crazy finish to Serie A, La Liga, and the Ligue 1 roundup. And in episode 3, it's a real special one. It's paying homage to some amazing greats who are leaving their clubs this year. So let's jump into it right now. First and foremost, our top story today, giving Arsenal their flowers. Matteo, they finally did it after 22 years. Start us off.
22 years and £1.5 billion later. Yes, that is correct. I mean, look, I would love to bash them and banter them as we usually do, but we have to stand back here and accept them and applaud them really as Premier League winners. That being said, I think they were a fantastic team defensively. They were solid. Arteta got his job done. The project's finished. And they still have the Champions League to play. However, let's not get it twisted here, because I know Arsenal fans do like to get carried away with things. This is not one of the best teams of all time. I personally believe, and the points reflect it, that they won not because they were so brilliant, but because everyone else had an off season and they were so poor. Look, I'm not saying Arsenal are a bad team, but congrats to them. They won. But I like them to be a little more humble with celebrations, especially with the bottling banter and all that. But I mean, end of the day, it's okay to see a different team win. I don't mind it. How about you?
Yeah, well, I'm actually a little disappointed in you. When someone wins, I think you got to give them their flowers. You can, criticize, critique, make fun of during the season. But at the end of the day, congratulations to the Arsenal Gunners. They got the job done. And so you're not going to find any critique from me today. I'll save that for another day. A couple of things here. Number one, I think it says a lot about Arsenal sticking with Arteta throughout the years. And we've talked about it before, giving a manager time, right? We saw that with Liverpool and Klopp. Giving a guy time. Even Pep didn't win the Champions League with City for quite some time.
Yeah, it's true.
The other guy I'd really like to acknowledge is Captain Martin Ødegaard. For many who don't remember, this player was once heralded as this next great when he was just a teenager, and he was scooped up by Real Madrid.
Yep.
And then he sort of, for whatever reason, I think mainly because Madrid was stacked more than anything, he was never going to get minutes. And then he bounced around. I think he went to Sociedad.
Yep.
And you just wondered what happened, because you always hear stories about these young kids. Oh, the next Messi, the next Ronaldo, blah, blah, blah. And there's so much pressure. And so for Martin Ødegaard to have gone through all that, found his way at Arsenal, become the captain, and to finally win the EPL for a club that's been missing it for 22 years, I think that's a sensational story right there.
That is true. If I were to give out one standout player for me for this season for Arsenal, I would have to say Declan Rice, because of the fact that he came in with so much expectations, £100 million, and he delivered on every front, essentially. Set pieces, as we know, was deadly. He controlled the tempo, and I think he was one of the leaders in the squad. And from coming from a different background entirely, not too much hype around him at West Ham, just an average player, to get to where he is now and turning in one of the best holding midfielders in the world, all the applause to him as well.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned in your little critique there that, it wasn't one of the best seasons, but Arsenal gave up very few goals, Matteo.
Yeah, they were great defensively, absolutely.
They were great defensively, and I think that's credit to Gabriel, to
David Raya.
David Raya, Calafiore, Julian Timber,
and Capier, Saliba.
Hincapie. Yeah, Saliba. That's the name I was looking
There was
for.
so much depth they had. Looking back at it now, it was a really stacked team. Not
Yeah.
in terms of like star power, but they had a second and third guy available for everywhere in the field, which is key for stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can go on, but we won't.
I'm sure you're glad about that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next up, wrapping up the league, we're looking at the UCL places, the Europa places, and the Conference League finishes. And this was a crazy ending. So many things could have played out. In the end, tell us who got those UCL spots.
Well, in the Premier League, there were 5 spots for grabs, and I'll read them to you. First and foremost, obviously the winner is Arsenal. Second place, Man City. They'll be qualified as well. Third place, Manchester United, which I still can't believe. Now, as we know, they're a good team, but at one point in the season, they were as low as 16th and 17th. So they're back up to third. They're in Champions League next year. Aston Villa, 4th place, and securing the last Champions League spot, your beloved Liverpool, which I am shocked about.
Why are you shocked?
They were dreadful this season. But that aside, we have Europa League.
They were dreadful by their standards.
Yes.
But you don't end up with 60 points and qualify for Champions League if you're as bad as people say you are. We haven't.
No.
So
either way, they could have lost on the last match day. That last spot could have gone, but they didn't lose it because Bournemouth and Sunderland finished below them, and they managed to qualify for Europa League. Sunderland beat Chelsea to get here, and this is the first time in 50-something years they'll be playing in a European competition, which, again, start of the season, no one expected this from Sunderland. So incredible. Bournemouth as well. Are you kidding me? These two teams no one would have picked to be in Europa League. And the last Conference League spot goes to Brighton. So a lot of smaller teams, especially in the Europa and Conference, while teams like Chelsea, Newcastle, all these other ones, Spurs, they miss out entirely.
Yeah, between Bournemouth, Sunderland, Brighton, Brentford, and Chelsea, any one of them could have gotten a Europa spot or a Conference League spot. And Sunderland, emphatic win over Chelsea just catapulted them into 7th. Brighton couldn't get the job done against Man United. And Brentford, too. Brentford misses out on Europe because they tied Liverpool. And if I'm being honest, there was a chance late in the game, a header, open. The guy was open. I think it was Shade, and just headed it wide.
Aye.
That really was the dagger, and that would have put them into Europe.
Wasn't meant to be on the day, but this title race was definitely the tightest we've seen in years in England. That's for sure.
Yeah, and again, kudos to Sunderland, who were just promoted last season and made their way all up to Europa.
Exactly. And when you see these smaller teams doing better than the Giants, it makes you wonder, or it makes sense actually, why you see other teams, solidified Premier League squads, Spurs, West Ham, so low on the table. And with that on the subject, we're going to talk about the dramatic finish we saw in the relegation race. Between Spurs and West Ham, we see West Ham go down to the championship, and Spurs barely by the skin on their teeth, they survive and has another season in the Premier League. Mark, do you think this is deserved, or do you think it's injustice?
I don't think it's deserved. I think Spurs should have gone down. They should take Everton with them for letting this happen. It was Spurs versus Everton. Everton, for the most part, decent team. They should have taken out Hotspurs. Many people will begin to question behind the scenes. Listen, Everton was safe. It's all about money. Did they let it happen? Right? West Ham, they did what they had to do. They got a 3-0 victory. But at the end of the day, Spurs needed to lose that game. So by honestly the thinnest of margins, Spurs survived. And I don't get it. I don't think it's something to celebrate and party about. Like, it's just ridiculous from the players to the fans. I
for
think it
sure.
should be more of a sigh of relief,
Yes, yes, yes.
but not celebration.
I was gonna say that because you see the reactions of De Zerbi, the players, and I personally do see relief more than anything else. But some people are getting carried away, celebrating a club of this size and of this roster. Being the Premier League is not something to celebrate. It's expected of you. So I think it's kind of going overboard for some, but for some others, relief is definitely most evident. I mean, to answer my own question, I think West Ham, they simply woke up too late in the season. Both teams, Spurs and West Ham, when they saw the reality of, potential relegation, they actually started to wake up. Points were picked up. They're playing better. West Ham were arguably better than Spurs, but ever since De Zerbi came in, they just started getting results. I mean, even with the players injured, a coach like De Zerbi, experienced in the league, he managed to turn it around. And
Yeah.
honestly, I'll tell you what, with a healthy squad going into next season, I am interested to see what Tottenham could do because this last little run they had
Yeah.
wasn't super impressive,
No.
but from where they were, it's a huge improvement.
I'll tell you what, I think that for Spurs, sure, they have that glitzy stadium, probably the best one in the league.
Yeah.
But unless they start to invest in players that are actually good, because they've invested in players, but really 65 million for Solanke, really?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like, if they invest in players that, other teams are actually going for, if they actually make these big moves, maybe things can happen. But until then, I don't want to hear any of this Big Six talk.
Oh yeah, come
They're
on.
not part of the Big Six, and they haven't been for quite some time. I mean, last year they escaped as well.
Yeah, they won Europa League last year, but it was the same boat, right?
Yeah,
So
same boat.
it's okay. Back-to-back years. Maybe Big Ange wasn't the problem after all.
No, no. All right, moving on. Let's see who's coming up to the Premier League, getting promoted from the Championship. We've got Coventry City, Ipswich Town, and Hull City. So I'll start off by saying if you haven't been following this year, Coventry City was on fire. They were
Oh yeah.
unstoppable. They won that league well in advance. There was no final day drama for them. Ipswich Town locked it up. And then in the championship, you have the next four teams. So third to sixth in a playoff. And Hull City was that sixth team. And so Hull City, on the last day of the season, beat two other teams, one of them being Wrexham, to capture that sixth spot. And then in the playoff rounds, they beat Millwall, who had finished third. And then they were left in some limbo. Who are they going to play? Southampton had beat Middlesbrough, but there was the Spygate. So now you got Hull City. Are we going to prepare to play Southampton, or are we playing Middlesbrough? And Matteo, tell us about the Spygate scandal.
Okay, so basically, prior to the Middlesbrough Southampton game, it was revealed that Southampton had a spy go into Middlesbrough training, taking videos, pictures of the Middlesbrough tactics. He wasn't allowed to be there, but in order to avoid any suspicion, there's literally evidence of this guy changing his outfit in the washroom, trying to avoid detection, and reporting back to Southampton with this information prior to the game. And now it makes sense why Southampton won that tie, ended up going to the final. So Middlesbrough filed a formal complaint with the FA. Southampton were subsequently kicked out of the playoffs, and Middlesbrough replaced them in the playoff final against Hull.
And then after that, Southampton actually appealed that. They appealed it, and they were denied.
I mean, rightly so, because
Yeah,
we both know you can't do that.
So
But
just for our listeners, it's absolutely crystal clear in the rule book that there is no spying or recording allowed of other teams' training. And the punishment is that you lose the match, right? You get kicked out. What I think happened really was that Southampton was gambling that They're not going to kick us out. We'll pay a fine. And they thought, nah, you know what? We'll pay the fine. Yeah, so they took this gamble. Like, why would you gamble? And this is the, leading up to the most expensive game in sport. Why would you gamble with $275 million? Because that's what the promoted team will get. Anyways, fast forward, we have Hull City beating Middlesbrough in the 96th minute to cash that $275 million check and get promoted to the EPL.
I think it's rightly so, honestly, because there was a bit of controversy over what would happen next. When Southampton got removed from the whole playoff process, people are speculating, okay, well, does that mean there's no opponent now for Hull to play in the final? Or would it be Middlesbrough replacing them? Middlesbrough really lost the qualifying game and had a chance to go through still in the final. So I think in the end, justice is served. Hull deserved it. And Ollie McBurney with the winner, fantastic for the EFL fans out there.
All right. Moving on to a sensational record that we have to talk about. And it's none other than Bruno Fernandes. Got an assist today. He got a goal too. But his assist, the 21st of the season, sets the all-time record for assists in a 38-game season. He was tied with legends Thierry Henry and the great Kevin De Bruyne. So this is a sensational record. Congrats to Bruno. Then he was named EPL Player of the Year. And the Young Player of the Year was Nico O'Reilly from Man City. Thoughts, Matteo?
I mean, okay, first of all, it's a fantastic feat what Bruno did. 21 assists, incredible. Well done to him. I think he was the bright spot for the team, especially during the Amorim days. He was the only glimpse of hope. Is it enough for him to win PFA Player of the Year? I'm trying to think of names who were better than him this season.
And you can't, and that's the point.
Exactly.
And I think it's not so much what Bruno did during Amorim. I think they were all trying to survive Amorim. I think it's what Bruno did after Amorim.
I just think that he was consistent, right? When I mentioned him, He was the only bright spot under Amorim. And under Carrick, man, oh man, he was like a world beater. And because of that, and because of the lack of alternatives, I think it is a fair choice for PFA Player of the Year, which is, again, the start of the year. You tell me this in November, I would never believe you. But in the end, it is justified. And PFA Young Player of the Year, Nico O'Reilly, I'm fine with it personally. There weren't many incredible young players this season, so he did have a good goal-scoring return as a defender, even played in a pivot for Pep. I don't mind it. If you have an argument with it, I'd love to hear it.
There is one player I think I would have picked over Riley. I think O'Reilly was great. But I would have picked Krupi Jr. from
Bournemouth.
He was up there in the goals, right?
It's true. And he's like 19, so...
Yeah, and is he 19 or 18?
He's young. I know that for sure.
He is a teenager.
Either way, I don't have a problem with O'Reilly personally, but it's, I don't know. It wasn't the greatest selection of Player of the Years, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I thought O'Reilly was solid, especially in that FA Cup match. But it's interesting that Pep kept him out from quite a few games too.
Yeah, for sure. I think because Pep has so many options, he always likes to rotate. Like, this is the same guy who benches Phil Foden for most of the season, so...
All right, and now we get to a fun topic, always. Our last topic on this pod. Standout surprises of the EPL season. Who stood out to you, Matteo?
Well, this season was full of surprises. I'm going to go with a player in particular who was a standout to me, but not exactly a surprise. I said it at the start of the year. Ryan Cherky would be a phenomenal player. I even had a wild prediction that he might even win Player of the Season. And looking back at it now, that wasn't too crazy to say, way back in August, whenever the Premier League started. I think Ryan Cherokee has established himself as one of, if not the most creative player in the Premier League after this season. He was phenomenal for Man City, being their only spot of dynamism at times. He was a big, big standout to me. For surprises, though, I'll just give you the quick teams that shocked me in general with a quick rundown. Bournemouth, obviously, Iraola's magic. It's a shame he's leaving the club. I want to see how they do next year. Sunderland, for sure. Big, big shock. The European finishers, well done to them. Granit Xhaka, by the way, wow, I can't even begin to describe the leadership and the quality he showed. I thought he was finished because he's up there in age, but man, oh man, he was fantastic. Chelsea, very underwhelming on the downside. I think after the whole Maresca thing, they were on a downward slope, similar to Tottenham, really. And it's a shame, too, because this is the same team that won the Club World Cup and looked incredible, dominating the Champions League winners, PSG, 4-0 in the final. To see them fall down to this, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll pick up on that Chelsea talk, and I'll say, even though he scored 15 goals, which is quite a bit, finished fifth in scoring, to me, Joao Pedro was actually a bit of a letdown.
Yes.
I thought he should have been pushing Haaland for the top scorer. And there's so many chances that he had that he just squandered. So for me, and especially after, like you said, the Club World Cup, he had just joined the team, bagged a lot of goals, and I'm like, wow, look at this guy bagging goals before he even plays with them and can click with them.
Yeah.
And so it was a bit of a letdown, again, even though he got the 15 goals. My applause goes to Igor Thiago from Brentford.
Yes.
Pretty much unheard of last year. 22 goals this year, just 5 shy of Erling Haaland. I've talked last pod about Antoine Semenyo. What an incredible story, an incredible rise.
Yes.
Again, Bruno, I think for me, it was quite telling when there was all this talk about last year, Man United finished 15th. Is Bruno done? Lots of talk of shipping him out to the Saudi, and yet he hung in there. Right? His love for the club, and again, performing so well. Ollie Watkins, to me, has been pretty consistent. I think he really deserved his England call-up. And I feel sad for Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
11 assists this year, gave it his all for West Ham, and now they're getting relegated.
Yeah, sure.
The other player I think had a great season was Morgan Gibbs-White.
Absolutely.
And it makes you wonder why Morgan Gibbs-White on 15 goals and Calvert-Lewin on 14 goals, Danny Welbeck on 13 goals, and none of these guys made the England squad.
That's a whole topic in itself.
It's a whole topic in itself. We'll get to that. But meanwhile, you have Madueke, who was involved in 3 goal involvement, and he gets the call up.
I don't want to speculate Tuchel's thoughts because I don't know what's happening there, but it's definitely worth a discussion. If I were to add quickly a few letdowns as well, Cole Palmer, what happened to that guy this year?
Yes, Cole Palmer.
I mean, injuries aside, when he did play, he was almost invisible. So for those who played the Fantasy Premier League, the FPL, and had him in their team, just like myself, boy, oh boy, he was underwhelming. But I'm going to have to go after you in Liverpool here and say Mo Salah. I get it was his last year, but for his standards, especially coming off the back of last year,
yes,
man, it was a decline and a half. But we knew this already. It was his time. So
yeah,
the fallout with slots, yeah.
But keeping with Liverpool, I think a bright star was Ekitike. I think all the focus after the summer was, Isak, we got Isak. But Ekitike is really the one who was the bright spark scoring goals until his injury.
For sure, yeah. I mean, hopefully he's... it was a serious injury as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully he gets back to his form because he was playing incredibly. And I want to see those two. If one of the other plays or they play together, I want to see how that does. One bright spot, though, I'll give you on Liverpool, who this year really stood out to me, Dominic Szoboszlai. I thought wherever he played, he put in a shift every time. And his free kick ability, man, I got to say, for me, He is top 3 free kick takers in the world. He's shown it consistently.
Or the other
Power
two.
to placement. Oh my God.
Who are the other two?
As long as he walks and plays the game, Messi's going to have to be one of the 3. Messi's up there. I'm struggling to find a better one than him. I'm sure there's someone out there I'm blanking on. But
Well,
Messi...
it says he's in the top 3. I figured that they would have their 1 and 2 ready.
No. I'm just... He could be second, you know. But Messi, I think, for ball release will be ahead of him, I guess, because he's just Messi. We know how it goes.
Yeah. All right. And for me, in teams surprises, Bournemouth, definitely. You already talked about it. Fantastic team. I think Bournemouth were the second best team, actually, after Man United in the second half of the season.
18 games unbeaten, by the way.
Yeah, 18 games. And we're going to end off this podcast with my prediction. I've been talking about this off air. The boys can attest. I've said that Andoni Areola will take over for Liverpool next season. That's my breaking news. It's funny because after I texted you guys about it, the next day I started to see it appear on Twitter. And I just wanted to give my rationale. My rationale was that Bournemouth played so well because they were a high pressing team.
They were.
Yeah. And for a club like Bournemouth, again, they spread the wealth with their goals. They ended up with 58 goals, right? Just 5 less than the current Liverpool squad. But if Andoni was coaching Liverpool with the quality players that they have and, playing that pressing style, I think it would all work out.
It could be a good fit. We'll see what happens the next season. But for today, that covers the time in our podcast. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow us on all platforms we have. We're going to start working on our socials soon, too. So you might be seeing us on TikTok, Instagram, and wherever else you scroll on. But in the meantime, it has been myself and Mark doing our best to keep you
semi-informed.